Hello and welcome again to TelecomTV. I'm Martin Warwick. We're in San Jose in California at the ETSI NFV number 11 event, and I'm talking with Milind Kulkarni, who is Director of Product Management Software Networking at Brocade. Milind, welcome. Good to meet you. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, and great to meet you as well.
Right, let's get stuck into it. Tell us about the difference between old IP and new IP. We hear it spoken about a lot. What is the first one, old IP? What is new IP? And what's the journey like between the two destinations?
That's a great question. Old IP represents a type of paradigm thinking where you have a static environment. Your thinking is static when the world is static. You have predictable way of doing things. That's your standard operating procedure when you did things in a very rigid way. Mm-hmm. And therefore your infrastructure supported that rigid way of thinking. Now, fast forward from 1980s to today, the world has changed quite a bit. Because of the social, mobile, cloud, multimedia, now the world is very dynamic. We interact with people. The needs for the infrastructure have changed. People's needs have changed. Now, the thought process needs to change. It needs to be flexible, it needs to be agile, and it needs to be reusable. So if the needs change of future, you can adapt to the new changes. And that is essentially in a gist of a new IP. So essentially we're talking about a transformation from a technology or way of thinking which was rooted in 1980s and 1990s to today. That's the journey from old IP to new IP.
Thank you. That's very clear. Now, let's get into NFV. Given that you're moving and will have moved to the new IP, where does NFV sit into that? Presumably NFV couldn't exist under old IP, or you wouldn't have moved to the new one. Mm-hmm. But what does that mean for NFV, and how far along the road are you in allowing now, under that new paradigm, allowing NFV to underpin all these new services and applications?
Another great question. So, in a new IP, the world, in an NFV world, the world is really moving towards a flexible, agile, reusable, lightweight way of doing things. I would like to use a simple analogy. In a traditional world, so far what we have been doing is very rigid and static. Take, for example, the glass that you use to drink water. You have a glass made up of silicon and whatnot. It's a very well processed, but you drink water with that glass. That's very elegant. The glass is very elegant, but you need a lot of upkeep. You need to take care of the glass, and you can't easily change it. If your taste changes, and if you want to use a wine, if you want to drink wine, for example, you want to use a different glass. In the NFV world, you're talking about a paper glass, a reusable cup, a paper cup. It's cheap, it's a lightweight, you can use it and throw it, and now you can recycle it. So that's the paradigm shift that needs to happen, and that is happening. So where we are seeing, and obviously there are challenges with both of them, right? Even I'm not necessarily suggesting the new world will not have its disadvantages. There will be some limitations, but they far outweigh the challenges of a traditional way of doing things in a network functions virtualization way.
Good, that's a nice answer, I like that. Now, let's move on a little bit further. We often, SDN and NFV are presented as the sort of Castor and Pollux, the heavenly twins of the new network, but they've always been seen as meeting at infinity or running in indefinite parallel for such a long time, and the yin and the yang, as it were. Now we're hearing suddenly, over the past 6 months or so, we're hearing SDN and NFV being spoken about within the same breath. Now, given that SDN underpins, necessarily underpins NFV, why are we seeing this change?
SDN and NFV at a high level, first of all, you're absolutely right. These are two complementary technologies. Another analogy I might use is if you take two slices of bread, put peanut butter on one and jelly on another, you can eat each one of them separately and they'll taste good. But if you put them together, you'll have a peanut butter jelly sandwich and it tastes even better. So the same thinking, now we are coming to a realization that SDN controls the way a network is orchestrated and managed. Now, NFV are the components, NFVs are components of that network. So it's pretty logical to combine those two together. And that's where I think we are seeing the shift of thinking. Now we understand the value of VNF or NFV standalone. We understand the value of SDN standalone. Now it's time to put them together.
A final question to you then. Given the fact that the current iteration of ETSI and the ETSI SIG is due to expire at the end of 2016, do you think thereafter NFV will be strong enough to stand on its own 2 feet and not have to rely on or take guidance from standards bodies?
I think NFV and SDN today do have certain principles that they can work on. So I would say they are stronger enough today even to proceed where they need to go. But will there be hand-holding that's required going forward? I would say yes. Because we are talking a major change in the way we are doing things. And it's a new way of thinking, and therefore there will be some points where we will need to fall back to standards bodies to define certain ways. And I'll give you a specific example. Certain interfaces need to be standardized between 2 entities. For example, southbound interfaces or northbound interfaces. So that's where I see a need for standardization, at least in the near future.
Interesting, elegant stuff. Milind Kulkarni, thank you very much indeed.